We're less than 3 weeks away from NFL football, and that means we've got legitimate NFL rumors to talk about. Welcome in, NFL fans, to NFL Daily by Chad Sports. My name is Moose, and coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about some Micah Parsons destinations that I believe make the most sense if he's not going to play for the Dallas Cowboys in 2025. And then we're going to talk about some other notable trade block names that you need to know heading into week 1 of the NFL season. I feel like there's a couple of guys on offense and a couple of guys on defense that we can highlight as guys that we'll probably end up seeing another team here very shortly. But before we get started, I'm going to just come out and straight up ask you, should Micah play for the Cowboys? But if you think that he should play for another team other than the Cowboys, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up icon. I think he absolutely needs out of Dallas, but that's just me. If I could like the video, I totally would. Either way, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, so I think it's important to also note where we are in the process of Micah's contract negotiations with the Cowboys. One of Jerry Jones's favorite negotiation tactics is to speak to the player directly, meaning he bypasses the player's agent, and Micah's not biting on that. In fact, a lot of reports have indicated that not only is he not bit on that, but that's caused even further on one side and the other side, it's that separation is growing ever more each and every single day. So I'm thinking it's going to happen sooner rather than later that Micah ends up getting traded before he gets that contract extension. So what are the teams that would make sense for Micah Parsons in 2025? I'm sure you've heard a lot of different hosts on a lot of different channels talking about where Micah fits the best. Well, I've highlighted 4 teams that I believe make the most sense, not only from a monetary perspective, but also from a fit and scheme perspective. Let's start with the first team, being the New England Patriots. Now, the Patriots are an interesting team because they don't necessarily have a great pass rush. They've definitely added to their defensive line with the likes of signing Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles last year, but they still lack that star power. And the good news is they have the highest cap space in the entire NFL, $60 million in available cap, and a need for another pass rusher. Like I said, they don't necessarily have that one-star player that's going to take them from, point A to point B. Last year, they were notoriously bad at getting to the quarterback. And like I said, with Mike Vrabel coming in now as head coach, they've definitely made adjustments. But if your edge one right now is Keon White and Harold Landry as his complement, I'm sorry. This is just a very mid/below mid pass rushing room. Now, could you give up a player like Clavon Chason and a couple of first-round picks to end up getting Micah Parsons? Sure. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. However, the one thing that I will say is Micah Parsons has made it very clear that he does not want to go to a team that can't compete. And I think that's kind of ironic, seeing as the Cowboys never really compete for a Super Bowl, but he definitely wants to be on a team where he feels like not only can he make a difference, but the team can end up making a deep run in the playoffs. The second team that I'm going to list here, the Los Angeles Chargers, LA, big market. Micah would be the big-time spotlight on that team with Khalil Mack getting a whole lot older and being outside of his prime. But I feel like the Chargers are in a spot as well where they just need that little extra push on that defensive line. Cap space, $31 million in available cap. They could rework some stuff to get a little bit higher, maybe closer to $40 million, which, of course, would put them right in the ballpark of being able to sign a Micah Parsons right now, which is, that $40 million per year is kind of what he's looking for. They also lost some big-time players, which is another reason why I think this makes sense. The Chargers lost longtime pass rusher Joey Bosa in free agency to the Buffalo Bills. And most recently, Rashawn Slater out for the year. Now, I know he doesn't play on defense, but if you think about it, he's a key piece to that Los Angeles Chargers offense. If you want to help support this offense, you could do it by trading for the likes of a Micah Parsons to bolster the defense a little bit more, which last year the Chargers defense was outstanding. So here's my trade proposal. How about a 2026 first rounder or 2027 first rounder and Tuli Tuipulotu? The linebacker for the Cowboys the Chargers, the Cowboys would get, and then, of course, the Chargers would receive Micah Parsons. I think this is a very fair trade-off. You're not going to be able to give up less than 2 first-round picks unless you're giving a player that also can give you high production. So Micah's going to garner 2 first-round picks, kind of minimum at this point. But I'll ask you, would you accept this trade offer? Yes or a no? I'm going to say yes, I would do that for sure. But for me specifically, I feel like this is kind of like one of those things where for the Chargers, does it make a whole lot of sense from the defensive side of the football because of that injury to Rashawn Slater? Should they go out and attack the offensive line just a little bit more? It's entirely possible. Either way, I feel like this is something that I would do. 2 first-round picks feels like it's going to be exactly where we're at. Now, I'm going to get into some more trade proposals here in just a little bit. But before I do that, my friends, I've got to tell you about the sweet deals going on right now with these NFL hoodies. You can get your favorite team in these super lightweight and comfortable hoodies that are perfect for the NFL season. They were $55. They're now $33. So all you have to do is go to chatsports.com/NFL hoodie, or you can use the link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video to make it even easier on yourself. You can get your Ravens, your 49ers, your Bears, literally whatever your favorite team is. Make sure you use the link that I said I put in the comments and description of today's video to start shopping today. Our third team, ironically enough, the next couple of teams, by the way, you're going to notice a common theme here, but I'll save that for the very end. The Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, didn't you just mention that Micah wants to play for a team that can contend? Yes, I did. However, if there was one team that wasn't ready to contend that Micah, I believe, would consider playing for, it would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Huge brand, huge fan base, and have the ability to go side by side with Max Crosby. These 2 pass rushers on the same team would absolutely shatter records. Could you imagine Micah on one side, Max Crosby on the other? Good luck. Good luck stopping that. Now, from a cap space perspective, where do they fit in? Because, again, it does come down to the money, because that's what this whole thing is about with Micah. Well, they're projected to have $99 million in available cap in 2026. So 2025, they have not quite enough right now, but with all of the free agents that are coming up and the moves that they're projected to make, they're projected to have one of the highest cap space rooms in the NFL. Pardon me. So I think alongside the likes of a Max Crosby, getting the train back on the track with Geno Smith now at the helm, and Pete Carroll kind of resetting the foundation for what the standard is for coaching in Las Vegas, could be at least somewhat appealing to Micah Parsons. A reminder before we get to our last one, if you haven't done so already, smash that thumbs up icon. We are less than 3 weeks away from NFL football, people, and if you want more free NFL news and coverage all season long, this is the place to do it. So hit that thumbs up icon. Our last team, the last 3, by the way, all in the AFC West. I know, you're probably thinking, why so many AFC West teams? Well, because they make a lot of sense. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs is one that I kind of pulled a little bit out from left field. Now, you're probably going to give me a little bit of slack for this, but just hear me out. This would take some major restructuring, and it is very interesting to me. I find this interesting because there are specific pieces that the Chiefs would have to give up and re-sign and kind of restructure in order to make this work. However, I do think that this is a trade proposal the Cowboys would definitely listen to. Same with the Chiefs, and I'll tell you why. You'd give up a first-round pick, only one, a third-round pick in 2027, and Chris Jones. Whoa, Chiefs fans are probably like, no, we're not giving up Chris Jones. Well, Chris Jones is getting up there in age. He's no longer the spring chicken that he once was, but he still can give you very productive years. Micah Parsons is quite literally in his prime. So what better way to reset that position even though Chris Jones is more of a defensive tackle than Micah is, an edge and a hybrid linebacker, than to get a player who's got a big-time name like a Micah Parsons. There is only one problem. The Chiefs are speculated to be $60 million in the red this year. Yikes. So that's the issue, is that they would really have to restructure Patrick Mahomes. They'd have to trade the likes of a Chris Jones. They'd have to restructure a bunch of different players in order to make this work. But in the event that the Chiefs could find a way to do it, I absolutely believe that the Cowboys would be interested in this, because not only would they get a player like a Chris Jones, but Mike is now in the AFC. So they don't have to worry about him whatsoever. And notice, all four of the teams that I listed are all in the AFC. I don't think Jerry's going to even for a second think about keeping him in the NFC. So that's it on the Micah Parsons front, with some quick hitters right now for some offensive trade candidates from other teams in the NFL. Jaleel McLaughlin, who is right now fighting for that RB3 spot in Denver. I think with the additions of RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, that definitely puts a hindrance on his role in Mile High. So look for him to be a trade candidate, especially if a team's major running back goes down. Kenny Pickett, who has been suffering with some major injuries, he's going to be dealt out there. It's Joe Flacco's job. Shedeur Sanders is a high name right now. Rachaad White has lost his starting position to Bucky Irving, so I think you could see him try to find a spot as an RB1 on a lower-tier team. Romeo Doubs doesn't seem to be finding his way in Green Bay since he got drafted, so I feel like a team that could be desperate for a wide receiver 3 could end up going for him. And, of course, Neal. You can never have too many offensive linemen. Defensive trade candidates. Brodric Martin, the defensive tackle from the Lions, is on the block. I also believe that Tuttle from the Panthers, who can't do anything right defensively, could be looking to garner more capital. Anfernee Jennings, a player that I think, is one of those other edge rushers for the New England Patriots who, let's be honest, probably isn't going to do much this year, especially if they end up going after and trading for a Micah Parsons. And then, of course, Dre'mont Jones and Shaq Thompson. And believe it or not, Dre'mont Jones now plays for the Tennessee Titans, so that's my bad on that one. Dre'mont Jones playing for the Titans right now, but again, a player that has not had a great training camp, and it's clear that Jeffrey Simmons is the focal point of that defense. And, of course, preseason and injuries are all going to dictate those trades. So, when we see someone go down or when we see these final roster moves being made, I'm assuming that's exactly when you're going to start to see more GMs and coaches make these moves. Do you agree with my trade candidates? Yes or no? You don't have to. If you think I'm crazy, type no and let me know why. If you think yes, please feel free to shower me with praise. That's going to do it on today's episode for us. A reminder to like the video if you haven't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and as always, be cool.